Hi guys, let's talk a little bit about how to zero out a compound bow at home with just a few tools that most people have laying around the house, and how I sight them in and get them all set up. Anyway, let's say for instance you had to change out your rest because, like me, you had a drop away rest and it quit on you or whatever, or you decided to switch out on your sight. Well, some of these sights have a third axis. And the third axis is the first thing that you want to deal with if you have that third axis, and that's your bow level, and it's the tilt of your sight, and there'll be a level bubble. Anyway, what I do is I have a carpenter's square, or a carpenter's level, and I go around the house and I put it up against door jambs until I find me a door jamb that's perfectly level. And once I find me a perfectly level door jamb, I take my bow and I set the limbs up against that door jamb, just like that. And now my bow's level, my string's level, and all I do is just loosen up my screws and adjust that third axis until my sight's level. And that gives me a true up and down on my sight, my string, and everything else. The next thing I do is I want to center up my rest. And to do that, I have somebody help me, and I go back to that same door jamb, and I use a string with a weight on it, plumb bob. And what I do is I feed the string between my cam and my limb, and I bring it up, and I bring it up here, and I hold it, and then I have my friend put my bow up against that door jamb again, and I make sure my level bubble reads level, and I bring that plumb bob string right over the top of my cam where my main string goes. And then what I do is I line up my string and that plumb bob string. So I line up my bow string and then the plumb bob string that's in front of it, and I center that in my rest, and I move my rest until I can sight down the string, down the plumb bob string, and hit the center of that rest. And what that does is it centers up my rest with my bow being square, and it also centers up my string. So now I should have a really, really close to being center shot. After I do that, I take my bow sling and make sure it's tight on my wrist. A lot of times I see people with accuracy issues and that sling's loose. That sling's not on there for decoration. It's supposed to be on there tight so that you can just barely touch your bow with your fingers at full draw, and that string keeps it from jumping out of your hand. And the reason why that string is there and you keep a loose grip on your bow is because if you're clenching that bow wiggles. And whenever you pull back, and if you got a tight grip on that bow, you're going to kick that bow when you release. And it's another big issue people have with accuracy, is gripping that bow and having that bow sling loose. Anyway, after I get my bow sling set, I start out at 8 yards. And I take that plumb bob string with the weight, and I hang it in front of my target. And I go up about 8 yards, and I shoot several groups. And what I do, instead of using just one single pin, or on this is a crosshair sight, this is actually a Apex Covert Pro sight, so it's got crosshairs with a green dot in there. But anyway, whenever I first set up, I want to go with the level, the peep sight, and my vertical line. And I line up my vertical line with that string that's in the center of my target, and I try to shoot that string just using that vertical line. And that's going to tell me if I need to move my sight to the right or to the left. And I don't just shoot one shot and adjust and one shot and adjust. I'll shoot a group of 5, and then I'll make an adjustment. And then I'll make another group of 5, and if I'm shooting consistently to the right of that string, then I move my sight over to the right. And if I'm shooting consistently to the left of that string, then I move my sight just a little bit to the left at 8 yards. And the reason why I choose 8 yards is because if your up and down is way out of adjustment, you start out trying to shoot at 20 yards, you have a good chance of shooting way over your target and losing arrows, or shooting way under it, or missing completely and busting stuff. So you keep it up close for your right and left adjustment. You'll wind up fine-tuning that a little bit later. But what you want to do is you want to have all those arrows on that string, and I usually use a piece of dental floss or a piece of serving string, something really, really tiny to help you focus on that small target to get as close in as you can. And when you're doing this, if you're shooting right and left of it consistently, but you're way off, then you've got a form issue. You're not holding your bow right. But you should be right on that string. And once you get on that string, then you back up to 10 yards and you do it again. And you make a fine-tune adjustment right or left at 10 yards. Once you're on that string at 10 yards, you put you a horizontal string. So now you have crosshairs. And you use your 20-yard pin at 10 yards, and you try to center punch that cross. And you adjust your up and down that way on your 20-yard pin. Once you're hitting really close into that center, then you back up to 20 yards. And you start all over again with that horizontal string, forget the vertical again. And if you're shooting consistently right or consistently left, at that point, that's when you need to move your rest just a little bit. Because at that point, it should be a tuning issue. And you bump your rest, and that should give you true center arrow flight. And then you can make your fine-tune adjustment and set your 20-yard pin dead on. And if you do it right, you get it set right, then your broadhead should fly really, really close to field points. There shouldn't be a whole lot of difference at all, because you should have true center flight in that bow, and they should be hitting the same spot. Anyway, hope you find this helpful. I know it's been a while since I posted anything, but yeah, I really need to get on that, but I've been very busy. Anyway, hope you enjoy, and I'll see you again.